Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Wednesday Night Madness, live on YouTube and StreamYard.com. It's Girl MF Michael Fletcher alongside Anthony Florio. We are hoping to get Michael Bullock here. Um, we got a lot to go through tonight. We got AEW Double or Nothing recap. We got NXT Takeover, NXT 2.0. We got AEW Dynamite, and of course, there will be a Ranger Roundup as well here tonight for Game One of the Eastern Conference Finals between the New York Rangers and the Tampa Bay Lightning from Madison Square Garden in New York. Um, I hope my throat will uh, let me get through all of this. Allergies is really kicking my ass right now, and that's what it is. It's allergies, folks. Um, I'm just getting straight up bushwhacked with this stupid allergies. So hopefully my throat will let me get through the whole show. I apologize in advance if you hear me coughing and hacking here throughout the night. But whatever the case may be, I'm gonna try to get through it the best I can. Um, so we're gonna start off with AEW Double or Nothing. Um, Warlow versus MJF was the first fight of the night. Warlow wins the match in 7 minutes and 30 seconds. It turned out to be a delicious squash. Um, Warlow getting his hands on MJF. Now MJF had a major issue. Got himself really in trouble with AEW brass, and there was a lot going on. And this um, delicious squash, and a lot of people started thinking that this could be the end of MJF in AEW. Um, but at the end of the day, this is exactly what it needed it to be. Warlow getting his moment in the spotlight, destroying MJF, getting his revenge on Maxwell Jacob Freeman, and not only that, but then after the match was the big announcement that Warlow was officially a member of the All Elite Wrestling. In other words, Warlow is now All Elite. So um, there's really not much more for me to say here. So Anthony Florio, come on in. Warlow destroys MJF and is now officially a member of the AEW family.
Yes, indeed, he is. And MF, like I can relate to your situation. You remember some time ago, I was doing exactly what you were doing. Um, I had some throat issues of my own, which thankfully I've managed to somehow get through. So still get some tickles here and there, but I'm a lot better off than I was some time ago. But I'm keeping you in prayer for immediate healing and that you'll get through this show here tonight. And so with that being said, this was booked to perfection and everything it needed to be. This match that was shrouded in controversy before the bell even rang unfolded as predicted, with the War Dog obliterating the salt of the earth with 10 power bombs, the fans in Vegas erupting after each one. It was fantastic. The crowd responded accordingly, and most importantly, the massive babyface emerged a legitimate star as a result. Who knows what the real situation is between MJF, Tony Khan, and AEW, but in a big moment when he absolutely had to, he showed up and did everything in his power to make sure Wardlow's story was paid off in the best, most effective way possible. Fantastic way to start the show, and the culmination of the best story leading into the night's event. So 2.5 stars. That's my rating for it. So with that, MF, set me up for the next match, and I'll take it for a spin.
Yeah, it was the tag team fight as it was the Hardys versus the Young Bucks. The Hardys wins the match in 19 minutes and 15 seconds. Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah, I will give this just about 4 stars here. Well, actually, I'm actually gonna give it between 3.5 to 3 3/4 here. It's because it was a tale of two halves with this match. First half was slow, plodding, and featuring a Jeff Hardy that appeared out of it and a step slower than everybody else in the match. He struggled with Brother Matt audibly calling his spots for him, and the match suffered for it. When he recovered, the match flowed much better. The Bucks unloaded super kicks, and their opponents defiantly dared them to bring more. They did. And the resilient Hardys absorbed and advanced and picked up the win. Had the match been more consistent throughout, it would have been an easy 4+ star rating at the very least. As it was a good match that probably exposed the Hardys' ability to go long, but did enough to satisfy the audience's love for all things Team Extreme. So I'm giving this 3.5 to 3 3/4 of a star, mainly because of it was a tale of two halves, but it was still good. So not quite as good as that ladder war match that you know so well, Matt, from 2017. So
yeah.
So with that being said, 3.5, 3 3/4. So MF, it's all yours.
Yeah, I could give it about 3.5. I mean, it was all right, but it was bad in certain areas. Yeah, I was talking because I was with my Discord guys. I want to give a shout out to Mikey Lee, and I also want to give a shout out to my good boy, my buddy Seth Tricky, because these are the two guys who I was with watching this match, and we were watching the match, and we were saying the same thing. We were like, "What is going on with Jeff Hardy?" It definitely looked a little off. It definitely didn't feel right at all, and we were genuinely concerned throughout the match. But yeah, at the end of the day, the outcome was never in doubt. The Hardys were going to win, but I mean, it kind of drew some comparisons to almost the final days of Jeff Hardy in WWE. And you remember at the end of the match, he actually ran into the crowd and did something a la what happened that day. And it almost made me a little concerned because I'm like, oh my God, is Jeff okay? Hopefully this is just them playing off because you know how WWE likes to play off, or I should say AEW likes to play off some stuff from WWE. So I don't know. We'll wait and see. But one thing is for sure, the Hardys gets a big win, and we move on. So next up we had was Anna Jay versus Jay Cargill for the TBS title. Jay Cargill wins the match in 7 minutes and 25 seconds. All right. Good match. Solid fight. I just did not like the ending. You did not need the baddies in there. You didn't need Red Velvet and Kira Hogan there. They didn't need to go that extra mile. I think they overdid it with Johnny Hungy, John Silver from the Dark Order being out there. I just felt like there was too many things that this match did not need. And this was one of 3 matches that really annoyed me about this show. So we'll get into the other 2 in a little bit. This was a solid match. I could give this about 2.5 to 2 3/4 because I'm punishing it because of the overbook. But then after the match, the baddies went after Anna Jay, and then you had Chris Statlander come out. You had Athena, yes, Ember Moon. She made her debut, and also we had Stokely Hathaway. He made his debut in AEW. It looks like he's replacing Smart Mark Sterling as the new head of council for Jay Cargill's crew. So a lot to dissect here. Anthony Florio, it's yours.
Yes. The match was not the prettiest, but it was still very good and reflective of the growth of both women to this point in their careers. Jade Cargill, lover or hater, is undisputably the star of the women's division, head and shoulders above everyone else on the roster. She is the future of the sport and could easily stand alongside the likes of CM Punk, Hangman Adam Page, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks as top AEW stars. Anna Jay is a star of the future too. Young competitor who gets better with every performance and showed her worth in this high-stakes pay-per-view encounter that she figures to stay in the hunt alongside Chris Statlander and Athena in a feud with Cargill and her baddies is promising. Better than expected, it was a solid match that exceeded relatively non-existent expectations given the lack of build to it, because a lot of these matches were randomly thrown together. So I'll give it an even 2.5 for the effort here. And yeah, Ember Moon, Athena, business just picked up in the women's division, and Stokely Hathaway, formerly Malcolm Bivens, the mouthpiece of the Diamond Mine, is now the mouthpiece of Jade Cargill and the baddies there. So, and I'd rather have him as my mouthpiece than that Hammerneger jabroni smart Mark Sterling. So, just my personal opinion alone. So with that being said, 2.5 for the effort. So, MF set me up for the next bout.
6-man tag team fight, as it was the House of Black versus the Death Triangle. House of Black wins the match. Again, interference running amok in this one. At the end, Julia Hart made the full transition, and basically, as I believe it was Pac who got sprayed in the eyes, that black mask, sprayed in the eyes, that led to Malachi hitting the black mask on Pac, getting the 1, 2, 3, and winning the match for the team. So Anthony Florio, the long-awaited heel turn of Julia Hart was confirmed. It finally happened. That black mask that went in her, the mist that went into her eye, it slowly absorbed, went right through her body. It finally came out, and we saw a very dark side of Julia Hart. She is no longer that bubbly cheerleader. Those days of that is gone.
Oof. I'm gonna give this 4 stars. The match, because the match was extraordinary and showcased the heels in a way they had not been to this point. I believe it was their best performance as a unit. Star making use of the most intriguing and enigmatic act in the company. Malachi Black looked like a total badass, welcoming a beating by his opponents before laying 2 of the 3 out with the black mass. The introduction of Julia Hart has been expected for months, and now that she has made the turn, the faction can finally move forward to bigger and hopefully more significant things. Death Triangle was predictably great and will remain a high-profile act, and rightfully so. Their excellence, coupled with that of House of Black, the star power of Adam Cole and Red Dragon, and the inevitable return of Kenny Omega alongside the Young Bucks, makes for a trios division that would be unprecedented in major professional wrestling. Tony Khan, give us the titles, and watch as your company does something neither WWE nor WCW nor any other major promotion in the States has. Present 6-man tag team wrestling as a legitimate, viable, and main event entity. So that's something that needs to be considered. So
actually, the only company that I ever known that actually can perfect this really well is New Japan and AAA, because there is a trios title in Mexico.
Yeah. So, and don't forget, Lucha Underground had a trios title.
And Lucha Underground, which was actually a byproduct of AAA. So that's where they got the trios concept from AAA. So yeah,
absolutely. So yeah, you do that, business picks up big time. Yeah. So I'd love to see that. So there isn't really that much more to get into here. This was a 4-star match. NMF, it is a final. Rangers win 6-2. 1 down, 3 to go to the final, baby. Let's go.
Well, we'll get into it. we got a lot to talk about, especially for this game. Um, you know what? They always talk about rest over rust. I think we can openly admit Tampa definitely was feeling rusty tonight because there was certain moments in that game where New York just absolutely outplayed Tampa. But we'll get into that a little bit later on in this evening. As yeah, yeah. So and for and for the first time in this postseason, the Rangers has a series lead. We haven't had any series lead until now. So first first game in the books. Big win for New York, and we'll go from there. So yeah, we'll talk about it later on in the evening. Next up, we had was the finals in the men's Owen Hart Foundation tournament, as it was Adam Cole versus Samoa Joe, and Adam Cole wins the tournament 12 minutes and 30 seconds. Um, Look, fine match, good final. I'd give this about 3.5 stars. Could have been better, but again, interference gets involved. Um, Especially a match like this should not have happened. This cannot happen. In a tournament final, when you're honoring Owen Hart, there should have been no interference in this match, and there was. It was an overbooked finish. Um, this really annoyed me more than anything else. Yes, I'm happy Adam Cole won. He deserves to win it all. But Anthony, 3.5 stars for me. But why? Why the overbooked finish? Especially when you're trying to honor Owen Hart. This never should have happened. Shame on AEW for doing this.
Amen. Amen. And I'm actually going to go a little lower on this. I'm going to give this 3 to 3.25. The match, the finals of this prestigious tournament felt disappointingly lackluster. It was perfectly acceptable professional wrestling from two guys who are far above average. Unfortunately, the match itself never reached that level. Joe overcame shoulder pain, but in the end, it was the same old interference finish that has been so synonymous with Adam Cole matches over the last 4 or so years. Would it have really hurt for Cole to win clean, to defeat Joe, and prove he can actually win one of these high-profile matches without relying on Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly? Yes, he's a heel, and heels cheat. But for the finals of this tournament, would it have been that bad for Joe to lose to a guy that was previously the top contender for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship? The repetitive finish, the predictable winner, and the so-so match that preceded it all made for the night's first real disappointment. This was 3 to 3.25 stars. But MF, this was an MF special, for goodness sakes. These are two of your boys. These are two of your favorites. Two stalwarts from Ring of Honor. And no honor among thieves in the term of Adam Cole there. So, I don't know what else there is to say here. So for me, this is 3 to 3.25. I could have given it 3.5, but I'm dropping it to 3 to 3.25. Not just because of the interference, but because of who was in the match. Adam Cole and Samoa Joe, two all-time greats, two of the greatest of all time. And we end up getting a solid match when it should have been a great match, considering the talent involved. This should have been 4.5 easy based on their bodies of work. If you had told me these two guys were going to give us a 3 to 3.25 star match, I would have said no freaking way. Well, guess what? They did. This is 3 to 3.25, and most assuredly, I would probably go on to call this the disappointment of the night, as far as I'm concerned. So there isn't much more to say here. MF, we crowned the men's winner. Now it's time to crown the ladies' winner.
Yeah, so it is the 11th. It is the women's final, as it was Dr. Britt Baker DMD versus Ruby Soho. Dr. Britt Baker DMD wins it all, wins it in 13 minutes and 20 seconds. Anthony, it's yours.
And I'm going to say this was actually better than the men's match. I'm going to give this between 3.25 and 3.5 for the effort. There is a small bit of criticism here. But the one thing that I did like about this, Dr. Britt Baker utilizing the counter to the victory roll, much like Owen did against Brother Brett in his most famous victory at WrestleMania 10. But her victory did more to highlight an issue with the women's division that Tony Khan and company have yet to recognize. So much emphasis has been put on Dr. Britt Baker that every other woman not named Jade Cargill has been de-emphasized and hurt for it. Case in point, Ruby Soho. The pieces were in place for her to score the biggest win of her career and shake off the disappointing loss from last September's Dynamite Grand Slam at Arthur Ashe Stadium. Instead, in her third shot at a marquee victory, she lost clean with no excuse to speak of. And why? To give Baker another signature win. Much like Charlotte Flair in WWE, so much focus and attention has been paid to Baker that no one else benefits. They're stripped of credibility in the name of highlighting someone who was already perpetually over. Now, where does Ruby go from here? She's a 3-time loser with no semblance of momentum. She's essentially done for, far worse off than she was entering a tournament that really could have stood to create a star somewhere along the line. At least this match was a marked improvement upon the predecessor, with Soho selling her injured ribs throughout and hard work from both women leading to a clever finish. If there was a silver lining, it was the joy expressed by Dr. Martha Hart after the match when she presented Dr. Britt Baker and Adam Cole with beautiful Owen Hart Tournament Championship belts. Her acceptance back into a world she understandably left behind 23 years ago has been one of the truly great elements of professional wrestling here in 2022. So, 3.25 to 3.5 stars. Beautiful, beautiful ceremony with Dr. Martha Hart after the bout, and beautiful presentation, beautiful speech. Say what you want about her, but the fans, they showered her with love, and
Yeah,
and that was a nice sight.
Most deservingly, and especially if you witnessed or you watched the Dark Side of the Ring and the Owen Hart episode,
Which we all did.
You will understand why she got that reception. You understand why um, AEW did what they did to do a tournament in the memory and in the honor of Owen Hart. They got it right. Now, as far as this match goes, the final goes, you are absolutely right, Anthony. Um, it was better than the men's final. I'm happy that it went this way. Obviously, the one thing that a lot of people were complaining about was the winner. Absolutely. This should have been Ruby Soho's moment. But then again, in my mind, Ruby Soho should not have even won this tournament. The real winner should have been Chris Statlander. Stats needs something more than Ruby. Ruby will be fine. She will be okay. And you saw what happened that Friday night on Rampage, that everybody was pissed, pissed that Chris Statlander got robbed in that match. So was that meant to happen? Most likely not. But the lasting image was that Ruby got booed out of the building. Obviously, a lot more people felt that this should have been Chris Statlander's moment. And at the end of it, maybe you hurt Ruby by momentum-wise by doing that to her. And obviously, you do even worse by having her lose in the final to Dr. Britt Baker. Britt didn't need that moment. Now, granted, it's a great visual to see Britt Baker and Adam Cole both getting the belts and the trophy at the end, and their names will be etched on that trophy. It's going to be like the Stanley Cup. The trophy will stay in-house. They can't take it. The trophy won't see the light of day until next year. But their names will be engraved on that trophy forever. So it's like it's virtually like the Stanley Cup in hockey. Yes, Matt Ward is here. He knows it really well. His Chicago Blackhawks, multiple time Stanley Cup champions. They know about about the names being on the cup. Of course, for me and for Anthony, being New York Rangers fans, we got the 1994 moment, and right now we're off to a good start in the Eastern Conference Final. We'll get into the Ranger Roundup later tonight, much later tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that said, next up we had was American Top Team versus Frankie Kazarian, Sammy Guevara, and Ty Conti. American Top Team wins the match, which means Sammy Guevara and Kazarian will now no longer be allowed to fight for the TNT title as long as Scorpio Sky is the reigning champion. So, Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah, I could probably give this about 2 to 2.5 stars for this. I mean, the match itself was all over the place, and just like the booking leading into it, nobody was particularly likable or even presented as a babyface. Paige Van Zant starred, which was the point of the whole thing in the first place. So in that regard, it worked. There was tension between Frankie Kazarian and Sammy Guevara over the latter's continued focus on his girlfriend, Ty Conti, rather than the objective at hand. Moves were executed. There were a few comedic spots, and Guevara blasted Conti in the most talked about spot of the bout. In the end, it was Scorpio Sky delivering the TKO to Kazarian for the win, and to ensure neither he nor Guevara can challenge for the title again. This was one of the ugliest, most disjointed, and not particularly great matches in AEW history. The lack of flow, storytelling that was all over the place, and unlikable characters made that possible. Thankfully, this is over, and AEW can focus on presenting Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti as heels, do the same for American Top Team, and give Frankie Kazarian something less obnoxious to be involved in. Kudos to Paige Van Zant for shining in her debut and executing what she was asked to superbly. She's going to be a massive star for the company if it can figure out how to best use her. I'm not going to be generous with this rating. I was going to give it 2 to 2.5, but now that I think about it, it's not often we say this about an AEW match, but I got to call this a dud. This was a mess. Yeah, I did not like this match. This was the worst fight of the night for me. Well, why not? Like I said, it was ugly. It was one of the ugliest, most disjointed, and not particularly great matches in AEW history. Lack of flow.
Does it feel like AEW hit a rut here? Because if you think about it, because you had the Adam Cole Samoa Joe, that disappointed. Dr. Britt Baker, Ruby Soho, the only thing that was disappointing was really the winner. Do you think that maybe they lost their way here on the show before they regained it at the end? Because I kind of feel like they lost their way once we got to house the 6-man tag. Yes, it was great, but
yeah. But then again, this was a slog show to get through. I mean,
yeah,
it felt like this pay-per-view was a lot like, it reminded me a lot of WrestleMania's 32 to 35.
Yeah.
Marathons.
Yeah.
And took a lot out of everybody.
Oh, yeah.
So, Yeah, so and this was hands down the worst fight of the night, like I said. So I mean, even though Paige Van Zandt looked great, the rest of the match, like I said, ugly, disjointed, and so much more. So,
and it was funny because we were actually putting the over under, me and the guys, and we're like, so how long do you think Paige is going to be in the match for? And we actually clocked it. She was in the ring physically for 4 minutes and 5 seconds. Officially. 4:05. So, and she did pretty well in the 4 minutes that she was actually in the ring. She did all right. She showed a couple of good moves. So there, she sold what she needed to sell, and especially when she was selling the stuff from Ty, she did all right. There was one or two moments that looked a little ugly on Paige's side, but other than that, not bad. I thought she did okay. It's not like we're like, oh my god, she was amazing. No, but like you said, she held her own. So no, she did good. She did good.
indeed.
All right. So with that said, next up we had was Kyle O'Reilly versus Darby Allin. Kyle O'Reilly wins the match in 9 minutes and 50 seconds and won the match clean. That was the biggest takeaway, is that there was no interference. This was a straight up one-on-one, and Kyle O'Reilly gets the win. All right. I think this should have gone to Darby Allin, honestly. I thought Darby should have won this fight. I thought this was a solid fight. This was about 2.5, close to 3. So Anthony, it's yours.
This was 3 to 3.25 for me. I mean, the competitors delivered an intensely physical bout that overcame lackadaisical booking ahead of it, and a crowd teetering on burnout to become one of the best on the show. Darby Allin, his normal daredevil self, throwing his body around the squared circle for better or worse, and matching Kyle O'Reilly's physicality throughout. In the end, though, it was the strike-heavy Kyle O'Reilly who dropped a big knee on the former TNT champion to score the biggest singles win of his AEW run thus far. The face-painted anti-hero of AEW threw everything he had at his opponent, including his body, but was simply out-wrestled by the better man, and that is one of wrestling's few timeless, easy-to-follow stories. 3 to 3.25 for me. So with that, let's move on to the next match.
All right, next up we had was Thunder Rosa versus Serena Deeb, the AEW Women's title on the line. Thunder Rosa successfully defends it in 16 minutes and 55 seconds. Anthony, it's yours.
4 to 4.25 stars for this. This was arguably the most technically proficient women's match in AEW history. Serena Deeb is an expert, a masterful technician who brings that element to every one of her performances. Thunder Rosa is a fiery babyface who had the crowd in her corner as she repeatedly fought through the pain and agony of a knee injury to retain her title. Hopefully, in the wake of this match, both women can benefit from better booking than they had entering the show. Rather than cutting promos, a clear weak point for both, letting them wrestle and remind fans of their excellence between the ropes would be a great place to start. This was 4 to 4.25 NMF. If I'm going to be honest with you, this may have been their best match ever. I mean, you saw the NWA match that Rosa, when Rosa took the NWA women's title from Serena Deeb.
Mm-hmm.
Was this better than it? It might have been.
It was pretty close to being better. I think the Thunder Rosa Serena Deeb fight in NWA was a little better, but it was pretty damn close. So yeah, I could get this about 4 stars, no doubt about it. Next up we had was the Anarchy in the Arena. The Blackpool Combat Club with Santana Ortiz and Eddie Kingston going up against the Jericho Appreciation Society. Jericho Appreciation Society wins the match in 22 minutes and 45 seconds. This was insane. insanity all over the place. Crazy fight. 4.5 stars for me. Clearly one of the fights of the night. I guess you could say the right team won. I guess. Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah, 4.5 stars for me as well. You can make an argument that this was the fight of the night. I mean, absolute insanity. I mean, Tony Schiavone himself on commentary said that this was even wilder than the Stadium Stampede matches, and he was right. And I mean, the spots that we saw in this match were just unreal. And the only thing that I didn't like was, for some odd reason, Jon Moxley's Wild Thing theme continued to play as the action started and the competitors brawled around the squared circle until Chris Jericho smashed the soundboard. And Jericho used the fork on Moxley's eye, throwback to their first feud over the AEW World title back in 19 and 20. Santana and Ortiz driving Hager through the table with the street sweeper. Kingston and Menard paid homage to the Memphis concession stand brawl, complete with a mustard battle. Garcia, with a belt wrapped around the throat of Kingston, dragged him across the arena floor. Santana and Ortiz came off side-by-side ladders and drove Menard and Parker through tables. And Kingston and Danielson descended into a physical brawl after the former doused the American Dragon in gasoline while trying to avenge the fireball thrown at him by Jericho weeks earlier. I only wish we could have resurrected Dusty Rhodes, because we could have had a nice little soundbite here when Eddie Kingston and one of the former Everrise guys, they were fighting in an elevator. They were fighting in the elevator. Yeah, you could have had Dusty. We could have brought Dusty back to follow up his legendary. They're fighting in the men's bathroom. There's a woman in the men's bathroom. Chris Benoit and Kevin Sullivan, anyone?
Yes. Great American Bash, 1996.
Mm-hmm.
If I remember yes, I remember that.
Sure. Yep. And what a fun ass show that was. Watching on Peacock if you haven't already. So that's a show that MF and I had a lot of fun with back in the day.
Oh yeah.
And that's one of two reasons why. The other one, of course, well, you know the other ones. So but watch it. I mean, Dusty was a riot on commentary, especially when they fought in the men's bathroom, and then you saw that shot of the lady in the men's bathroom. That's what did it. And I mean, I only wish you could have brought him back. I mean, that would have been a great soundbite when you had Eddie Kingston and one of the former Everrise guys. They're fighting in an elevator shaft, for goodness sakes. So could easily have done that. But MF, this was insanity. And I mean, you could easily make an argument for Fight of the Night on this. This was 4.5 stars, no doubt about it. And there isn't much more to say except how in the world with the remaining two matches, both title matches, mind you, going to follow that?
Yeah. Well, they tried, and the next thing that we did have was the triple threat for the World Tag Team titles. Jurassic Express versus Swerve in Their Glory, and of course Team Taz. And when it was all said and done, Jurassic Express successfully defended the titles. 17 minutes and 15 seconds. Anthony, it's yours.
I'm gonna give this 3.5 to 3 3/4 of a star. Despite going on so late in an overly long show, these 6 men delivered a fun, action-heavy bout that kept the rejuvenated crowd invested throughout. Keith Lee flying through the air with unmatched athleticism for a man of his size did not hurt matters. Jungle Boy and Christian Cage continued to tease a potential rivalry, each responsible for distractions that could have cost the champions their titles. Instead, Jurassic Express overcame the challenge of 2 very game teams to retain and continue their reign as tag team champions and one of the most perpetually over tandems in the sport. This worked extremely well as it managed to adequately highlight all 6 men. Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland very easily could have won the titles here, and the fans would have popped for the moment. but this was not the time to take the titles off a Jurassic Express team that still has work to do in their role as the standard bearers for this division, especially given the inevitable heel turn by Christian Cage and feud with Jungle Boy that most assuredly appears to be on the horizon. So, not much more to say here. 3.5 to 3 3/4 of a star. So, MF, not much more to say except champions stay the champions.
Yeah, 3.5 stars, no doubt about it. Here we go. Main event. AEW World Title on the line. CM Punk challenging and trying to get the belt from Adam Hangman Page. The winner of the bout, 25 minutes and 40 seconds. And the new AEW World Heavyweight Champion is CM Punk. Look, there was a moment where Hangman thought about blasting Punk with the AEW title. There was a ref bump, but he thought better of it, decided not to do it, and that turned out to be a costly mistake because CM Punk was able to be that resourceful veteran, got him with the GTS, and sure enough, it was go to sleep for the champion, and CM Punk is now the new flag bearer of AEW as the new AEW World Heavyweight Champion. Great main event, solid match, another 4 to 4.5 stars. Anthony, it is yours.
And with you being a little under the weather, MF, I'm gonna take it for you. History was made in Las Vegas on Sunday night. Yep, history was indeed made. The unprecedented crowning new World Heavyweight Champion CM Punk. Although this was expected, to be honest with you. The match was at its best when the combatants were focused on beating the hell out of each other. When they swayed too far into WWE style with the stealing of each other's finishers, the match fell apart a bit. Look no further than Punk twice botching the buckshot lariat. They both recovered nicely to deliver a final few minutes, befitting a match of this magnitude that also doubled as a foreshadowing of things to come. What effect will Hangman's failure to win after taking the good guy approach and resisting the urge to cheat have on him? What is AEW going to look like under CM Punk? Those are two questions that entice the viewers to tune in tonight on Dynamite, but also help define the immediate future of the company's main event scene. Now, there's going to be some that are unhappy with the decision to have Hangman lose the belt, and those fans are absolutely in the right. It never once felt like AEW truly got behind him as their champion, despite the 2-year story that got him there. Hopefully, he'll stay in the mix at the top of the card and get another run with the gold, because his story as a world champion in the company feels both unsatisfying and unfinished. With that said, Punk winning was the right call. He is the undisputed top star in the company and a guy that is perpetually over. He also has the most to give a potential young challenger to his title, be it a Hangman Adam Page, maybe an MJF, maybe Warlow, or any other future champion. The main event of Sunday's show was a perfect representation of the event itself, sometimes good, sometimes not, but consistently straddling the fine line in between. It was not one of the best presentations the company has ever produced, but there was enough to like about it to give that show a solid thumbs up, just like Hangman and Hangman and CM Punk. So I'm going to give this between 4.25, teetering on 4.5. I would say second best fight of the night, only behind Anarchy in the Arena. So there isn't much more to say here. So overall review, and I think that goes to me, right? Yeah. So I would have to give this somewhere between 7.5 and 8. Like I said, it was not one of the best presentations the company ever produced, but there was enough to like about it to give it a solid thumbs up type rating. And I think 7.5 to 8 is that rating. I mean, some of the other matches we could have done without some of the other matches with some of the matches, but there was a lot more good than bad, obviously. And And Derek Ferreira, interestingly, said he thought it was because of the reason why this event was so long was because of the fact that they were going head to head with Game 7 of the NBA Eastern Conference Finals with the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat.
Actually, my good friend, our good friend Matt Ward, also just mentioned that. Let me see if I can pull it up. And actually, here, Anthony, and here it is for yourself. That's also one of the reasons why. And actually, one other person, Mikey Lee, who's a friend of my Discord, he also was making reference to that as well. So yeah, that definitely could have been the reason why, which I think it didn't really need that kind of a factor because, honest to goodness, AEW didn't really need to do that. I kind of felt like AEW kind of did a disservice to the fan base because to try to compete with the NBA, I mean, don't get me wrong, the NBA is good, but your product is better than the NBA. I think you guys would have beaten the NBA ratings wise on something like that. So it's not, you did it. I don't think you really need to do that. I don't think AEW needed to worry about the NBA. And there was a lot going on that night too. Remember, there was that. I think there was I think the only game in town was the NBA, and there was a pretty good Sunday night baseball game, if I remember correctly. There was the Mets and the Phillies that night.
Yeah, Phillies
as well.
The Mets, Citi Field. Yeah.
So I get it, I understand it, but to me, if I'm AEW, I would not have even worried about the NBA. You should have gone with the way that you would have gone, and besides, your show is traditionally 4 hours long.
Right.
You didn't need that extra half hour because by then the game was already over by then.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I felt like AEW didn't need the extra hour.
No.
They didn't need the extra hour.
Unnecessary.
Because the game was already over by 11:30, 11:35. Was when the game was over. By then, Michael Bullock was already going off like a lunatic, going crazy, losing his mind because his Boston Celtics were going to the NBA Finals.
And we are going to preview the NBA Finals tomorrow night on TXN Sports World. So
yes, indeed.
So it'll be very. I mean, you already know what Bullock's going to say, so it's going to be interesting to hear what I have to say about it. So But yeah, 7.5 to 8. So that's it for me. So it was still a great show, but some things could have been better. Looking at you, Adam Cole and Samoa Joe. So that's all there is to say on that. So MF, your overall thoughts, and then we'll quickly get into what was the go home show, NXT 2.0's go home show for this Saturday's In Your House.
Yeah. First off, I just want to say for the record, I'll give it 7.5 out of 10. So yeah, I agree with everything you guys said. Let's go into NXT. We started it off first fight of the night. Diamond Mine, Roderick Strong, and Damon Camp. They went up against Pretty Deadly, and it was Pretty Deadly winning the match. I don't have a time, but that's okay.
I got it.
Solid opener. Very good.
Time of the fall was 13 minutes and 17 seconds, MF.
Great opener. 3.5 stars. I'm just not going to waste too much time. Try to save my throat here. So, Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah, I'll cover for you, MF. Good match with a predictable result. What mattered most was continuing to build the storyline of Diamond Mine. While the Creed brothers look poised to win the tag team titles Saturday night, their growing tension with Roderick Strong is likely going to cost them another shot. It's hard to say where this is going. Diamond Mine is such a perfect fit for the Creeds and Ivy Nile. as well as Damon Kemp. Strong comes off as the odd man out, and perhaps he will form his own stable to combat Diamond Mine. And Pretty Deadly come off as the type of tag team that should be more style than substance, but they've got the talent to back up their words. They have not missed yet and helped elevate Damon Kemp, who is showing some interesting potential in recent work. So I agree with you. 3.5 stars is my rating for this. Time of the fall was 13 minutes and 17 seconds. So not much more to say there. So MF, if there's any cutouts, so feel free to move on from them so we can,
All right. Well, I'll just poise the question and then we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Next up we had was Cora Jade versus Electra Lopez. Cora Jade won the match in 5 minutes and 6 seconds. All right. Then we had Wes Lee versus Exxon Quinn, and Wes Lee gets the win. 3 minutes and 41 seconds. Quick thought on that, Anthony, or you want to just move on?
Yeah. If you had given these two guys twice as much time, this would have stolen the show. Both men are immensely talented with plenty of obvious chemistry. Even when Lee would dive too far, Quinn was able to catch him, and Lee sold Quinn's offense as impactful without being dangerous. Shaman was so short, but this was a really strong, fun little sprint. Both men deserve a regular spotlight, and while Lee won the match, Quinn is still the most ready to contend soon. He could challenge Cameron Grimes in the next few months if he wins this rivalry. So I could easily give this 2.5 to 3 for that fun little sprint. So not much more to say there. Big win for Wes Lee over Zion Quinn. So,
and it's about damn time that Wes Lee wins a match. I think that's the biggest. That was the biggest thing. Is that it's about damn time he got the moment. So
definitely.
Then we had Solo Sikoa going up against Duke Hudson. Solo Sikoa wins the match in 4 minutes and 44 seconds. All right, fine. You gotta give Solo a momentum heading into his match, which I believe is against
no, he's
Cameron
not.
Grimes.
He's not challenging Cameron Grimes Saturday night. It's Carmelo Hayes.
Oh, Carmelo's getting the shot. All right.
Yeah.
But that does keep him at least within the realm of ability. Then we got Josh Briggs versus Grayson Waller. Waller wins. He continues his hot streak right now. Kiana James versus Ivy Nile. Ivy Nile wins in 3:36. More of a showcase for her. Then we lead ourselves into Nathan Frazier versus Cameron Grimes, non-title. Cameron Grimes wins the match in 10 minutes and 9 seconds. Good momentum for him heading into his championship fight, like you said, Anthony, against Carmelo Hayes. So, yeah. So, quick thought on any of the matches.
Well, when it comes to the matches, Cora Jade and Electra Lopez, those two have very little chemistry, and it was much better on paper than in practice. And the moves looked sloppy, lacked impact, and Jade barely got involved before she won. But the one positive is that Electra Lopez is definitely improving, but she could have a wider moveset and still look like a rookie. And it comes down to execution, which the Performance Center trainers should emphasize with her going forward. Right woman won for now, but Jade, though, comes off as directionless after her big match with Natalia. We talked about Wes Lee and Zion Quinn. For Solo Sikoa and Duke Hudson, it was solid. That was solid for what it was. Hudson really should not have been completely squashed a week after defeating Braun Breaker, albeit by DQ. He got some offense in, but never had a real chance. And Sikoa has been built up in a big way lately, but if he loses to Cameron Grimes when it matters, he's going to have a long road back to title contention. He could quickly become similar to Santos Escobar, talking a big game but never winning the big one. Waller and Briggs, just a waste of talent. Not enough time for either man to do anything before the distraction finish. Obvious and boring. At least give two talented guys the time to have a good match before the Von Wagner stuff. And then like you said, Ivy Nile, that was a showcase. It was a squash, but Kiana James got to look like she had a chance briefly, thanks to the story around Ivy Nile that has her distracted and not good. And James is an uninteresting performer at the moment and comes off too trained. But Nile has potential, but she needs a new mouthpiece or manager now that Malcolm Bivens is in AEW as Stokely Hathaway. So not much more to say there. This Grimes and Frazier match, that was the second best fight of the night. You could easily call it the best fight. I mean, it was not difficult to take that spot given all the rushed matches. But Grimes and Frazier was genuinely good. The two put so much into their 10 minutes, never letting up on the pace. Frazier, though, never had a chance. Even if he stayed in the fight, he got some near falls, but there was no drama. It was just about showing off what he could do before he fell. And with the right build, these two could have a genuinely great match down the road. So I could easily give that 3.25 to 3.5. So that's not much to say there. So overall, I read some reviews today, and a lot of them overrated this show as far as I'm concerned. I actually saw a couple of reviewers give this show a 7.5 out of 10. I'm like, really? That was a 7.5 out of 10? Not in my eyes, it was. This was more middle of the road than anything else because, it was the typical NXT 2.0 MF. We talked about this damn near week after week after week on this show. Great first match, equally great main event. Everything else in between, either filler or rushed.
Yeah.
So that's why I'll give this about 5 to 5.5. So that's just how I feel about it. And but hopefully In Your House will deliver on Saturday night, and we'll get into that on Friday night when we preview this event. So not much more to say here. So 5.5 for me. So MF, quick overall thought from you, and then we'll get into the fallout from Double or Nothing on AEW Dynamite from the legendary Great Western Forum in Inglewood. Wow, how awesome is that?
Yeah, solid NXT 2.0. I'm gonna give it a 6. I think 6 is the right rating. I think you're being a tad harsh, Anthony, just a tad harsh, but it was all right. It was a good show. It was all right. It wasn't the worst, but it wasn't the best. So we'll leave that at that, and then we'll go into AEW. Started out with a 6-man tag team match, as it was Matt Caster and the Gun Club. They went up against FTR and AEW champion CM Punk. Punk and FTR does win the match. They won it in roughly 12 minutes. Solid opener, I'd say about 3 stars. But then after the match, oh my God, the Forbidden Door opens, and this one is the biggest of them all.
Mark out moment, MF. Mark out moment for you.
Oh my God, I lost it. The ace of New Japan Pro Wrestling, the John Cena of New Japan Pro Wrestling, one of the greatest wrestlers in the world, Haroshi Tanahashi, the ace, showed up. And oh my God.
You know the resume. Yeah,
this resume is, without a doubt, legendary. He is the face. He was the face of New Japan Pro Wrestling for about 6 or 7 years. Wrestle Kingdom, this man was in the main event 5 years in a row. Whew. And on top of that, one of the main events, he actually fought Shinsuke Nakamura. And at the time, it was for the Intercontinental title. Wow. Think about that. The IWGP Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship was the main event of Wrestle Kingdom 8.
Wow.
And it wasn't even the big belt. It wasn't the IWGP Heavyweight title. No. It was the Intercontinental title. That was the main event of Wrestle Kingdom. That's literally the equivalent of Bulldog and Brett of SummerSlam 92. Literally.
And I bet that was a 5-star classic, right?
Oh, absolutely, yes. Tanahashi walked away with the belt that night, too. Tanahashi unseated Nakamura, and Nakamura at the time was one of the longest reigning champions in New Japan. And he lost the Intercontinental title to Haroshi Tanahashi. Then he had his wars with Kazuchika Okada, and it took Okada 2 years to knock off Tanahashi. The first time he fought for the world title in Wrestle Kingdom 9, lost the fight, and I remember this vividly. It was a 30-minute war. It was an incredible fight that my heart broke for Okada. He literally broke down in tears on his way back to the locker room, thinking, "Oh my God, was that my shot at the world title?" Well, no, it wasn't, because 1 year later at Wrestle Kingdom 10, he got another shot at Tanahashi, and he made good on that moment and became the IWGP Heavyweight Champion of the world that night. And that escalated Okada to Rainmaker status. And not only that, but then he became the man of New Japan for a number of years. So,
and guess what? I think it is official. I think it will. I think from what I'm reading here, I think it is going to be Haroshi Tanahashi challenging CM Punk for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship at the Forbidden Door pay-per-view. It looks like it's going to happen.
It will happen. Yeah. Actually, yes. Excalibur confirmed it. He's saying that Tanahashi accepted Punk's challenge. So, yes, it will happen. The Second City Savior, CM Punk, going home in his own backyard, the United Center, the UC, going up against the ace of New Japan, Haroshi Tanahashi, man. Oh my God.
They're going to steal the damn show.
What a match. That's going to be for the AEW World title. So then after that, next up we had
let me just give you my quick thought on the match.
Go ahead.
That 6-man tag. You said roughly 12 minutes. So I'll give this about 3.25 to 3.5. I mean, Max Caster and the Guns impressed, showing off their athleticism and in-ring chemistry, tools that will ultimately make them key players in the future. But tonight, they cannot overcome their veteran opponents. Punk overcame a not-so-impressive hot tag to Rock Austin with GTS, right into the big rig or Shatter Machine from Hardwood and Reeler for the red-hot win. The reveal of Haroshi Tanahashi as CM Punk's opponent at Forbidden Door was massive and put a nice bow on what was a superb start to the show. And the match that preceded it was a ton of fun, even if the outcome was never really in doubt, and served as the perfect intro to a potential on-screen pairing of CM Punk and FTR. Should be interesting to see if they remain united moving forward. But MF, I mean, this was a great show tonight from the legendary Forum, Kia Forum, or as we best remember it, the Great Western Forum, Inglewood, California, home of the Lakers and the Kings in the old days. I mean, as great as this show was, if there's one thing that we're all going to be gathering around the water cooler or whatever tomorrow, it was this moment right here when Haroshi Tanahashi showed up and him and CM Punk at Forbidden Door. I'm going to tell you right now, no matter what else is on that card, you may as well call it Chicago PDMF because those two boys are going to steal the dang show.
Yeah, agreed. No doubts. Next up we had was a promo by MJF. Oh my God.
Pipe bomb.
Yeah. You want to talk about one of the greatest promos in wrestling history? This was it. The fire, the passion, the vitriol, the negativity. This was without a doubt. You may love him or you may hate him. This guy made people notice him tonight. MJF is noticed after what he did. And Matt Ward even made a great analogy on this, that this nuclear promo on MJF is literally on the 11th year anniversary of CM Punk's infamous pipe bomb rant that he did on Monday Night Raw. And you remember that rant, Anthony, very well.
Absolutely.
So think about that. MJF, full nuclear bomb. And yeah, what does that mean? Was it a promo work? Is this something even deeper? The plot thickens with MJF and his thing with AEW. We don't know where he stands.
No, but I'll tell you. But I will say this. This was the segment of the night. I mean, segment of the night. You could even go as far as to call this the segment of the year up to this point. What ensued was MJF's own personal pipe bomb. The moment he unleashed months of very real frustration in a scathing promo that may have been 50% show and 50% reality. The intensity, like you said, MF, on his face and in his voice as he ran down the list of frustrations that have festered in recent months was undeniable. He was pissed off and picked the most public manner in which to voice his anger and disenfranchisement with AEW. Its habit of paying former WWE guys and how undervalued he feels by those in power. And as I said, and as Ward said, this promo felt a lot like CM Punk's infamous pipe bomb from 2011, in that it targeted management, stars that were either signed from the competition or working less hard than him, and even placed blame on fans for his treatment. By the end of it, say what you want, but he was the biggest babyface on the show and the hottest star in the company. Whether what we saw as a shoot turned into a work, or work turned into a shoot, or some combination thereof, remains to be seen. But there is no denying the fact that after 5 minutes of reigning on the mic, Max Friedman is suddenly wrestling's most must-see and must-hear performer, as he should have been all along, based on his work in all facets of his performance. And we don't have enough time to run down everything that he said, but man, I mean, but the best part of all was when he said, "Look at me, Tony. I want you to fire me." He dared them to fire him.
Yeah.
Balls.
I will say this. It is definitely got a lot of people noticing, and a lot of people are talking.
And then the lights went out.
Yeah. Because of the fact that, what does this mean? You can sense it. You can feel it. And the thing is that what MJF was talking about, here's the crazy thing. Joey Janela talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
Big Swole talked about this. And it was a lot of the originals feel disenfranchised by all of the signings from WWE coming to AEW and literally taking their spots from the roster. And this is not something that we thought, but it was something that was talked about, rumored. Well, MJF has now put it in the forefront. He literally, with that promo, put a microscope on the problems that AEW has right now. And the thing is, sometimes it's a good problem to have, but other times it's a double-edged sword that you can have. You know, the one thing that we've been hearing about WWE is all the firings, all the people getting let go. You know, that they're downsizing the roster, that's going to be bad for them. Yes, it is bad for them. We are seeing how the ratings are suffering. We're seeing how attendance is suffering. But also in the grand scheme of things with AEW, when you have an inflated roster, could actually lead to trouble too, because of the fact that with more people joining AEW, with people coming in like they are, that might not be enough time or body of work for the stars that they got now, that you're alienating a whole crop of guys that were definitely stalwart guys who were there at the very beginning of AEW. This is where you get yourself in trouble that way too. So, yeah, this is crazy. Wow. Really nothing more to add. So, next up we had was Johnny Elite going up against the returning Miro. Miro is back. Miro wins the match in 6 minutes. So, Anthony, it's yours.
I'll say it like this. Second time tonight, fun little sprint. Miro looked fantastic. Hardly missing a beat as he rolled to his first win in months and instantly inserted him in the title contention. And I mean, I could easily give this about 2.5 to 3 stars for the effort. And great to see him back. This was Miro's first appearance since the Full Gear pay-per-view last November. And that was 200 days ago, and even 200 days ago. Crazy. I'm sure there must have been some injury. I'm sure he was battling an injury that we didn't know about, but it was great to see him back. Business has definitely picked up with him back, and he and Johnny put on a solid match, a fun little sprint, and with a little more time, it could have been even better. But for what we got, this was easily 2.5, teetering on 3. So nice, fun little sprint. So not much more to say here. I mean, MF, not bad for a guy who was gone for 200 days, huh?
Yeah, not bad at all. Solid match. Yeah, definitely agreed. 2.5 stars. Next up, we had was an 8-man tag team fight, as it was Jurassic Express, Christian Cage, and Matt Hardy. They went up against, and Darby Allin. I'm sorry. So it was a 10-man tag. They went up against Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, Herico, or Hikuleo, Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks. It was basically the Undisputed Elite. They won the match in 11 minutes and 50 seconds. It was a solid fight. Really nothing more to say. So, Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah. What do I have here? The action was fast and furious, never giving fans an opportunity to breathe. Jurassic Express shined. Darby Allin ping-ponged off Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. and Matt Hardy fended for himself against the Bucks. It was the Bucks, though, who recovered and scored the win for their team, delivering the Meltzer driver to Jungle Boy to rebuild momentum following their loss on Sunday. This match was fantastic, frenetic in its energy and red hot in its crowd reaction. The Bucks winning returns them to tag title contention. I think we have a championship committee moment on our hands because they pinned Jungle Boy, one half of the champions. So I think the Young Bucks should definitely be entitled to a title bout down the road. But more importantly, it further planted the seeds for the inevitable heel turn by Christian Cage and his subsequent feud with Jungle Boy. Everyone shined, including Hikuleo. And the result was a fun, inoffensive TV match that gave the Bucks the high-profile California win they have more than earned. I'm going to give this 3.5 stars, teetering on 3 3/4, and I can most assuredly put this up there in consideration for Fight of the Night honors. That's how good this was. So, really, not much more to say here. So, MF, speaking of MJF, his former heavy in his first official match on his own.
Yeah, it was Warlow going 1-on-1 with JD Drake. Warlow wins the match in the minute 10. We'll move right on along. Next up that we did have was a women's tag team fight, as it was Dr. Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. They were going up against Ruby Soho and Toni Storm. Toni Storm, Ruby Soho wins the match in 8 minutes and 30 seconds. Well, I guess we can say that Ruby Soho does get the win back from the Owen Hart final. But I kind of felt like that was kind of a too little too late for me. But it was still a solid match. But more importantly, as you notice at the end, Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker not on the same page here, Anthony. It looks like there's some drama between the two women.
Well, I'll address that in a moment, but I will say this. I'm going to give this 3 stars for the effort because it was arguably the best women's match in recent weeks, and it was hella energetic, featuring Baker and Hayter dominating the action until a hot tag to Toni Storm sparked the babyface comeback. The action was back and forth and nearly saw a massive miscommunication between the Good Doctor and Jamie Hayter before Ruby Soho avenged her defeat from Double or Nothing by pinning Britt Baker for the clean win. This was great stuff in which each woman was given enough to do, and Hayter in particular starred. She's a breakout star waiting for her opportunity to escape the shadow of Britt Baker. Given the tease of miscommunication late in the bout, perhaps that time is coming sooner rather than later. Even if it's not, AEW would be wise to continue to prominently feature Hayter so she can follow in the footsteps of someone like Wardlow, who emerged from an on-screen partnership with a top-tier heel to become a breakout star. Good on Ruby Soho for scoring a much-needed win here, even if she really should have beaten Baker at Double or Nothing. Now it's time for the company to turn its creative efforts to Toni Storm, who has not had nearly the impact expected, and a lot of that can be attributed to the lack of emphasis placed on her by those booking the show. That gripe aside, really fun match that should serve as the template for getting the most out of the women's division on Wednesday nights. So I'm going to give this a solid 3 stars for the effort. So not much more to say. MF, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. 3 stars, no doubt about it. Solid. Now it does take us to the main event of the evening, as it was Jon Moxley going up against Daniel Garcia. Moxley wins the match in 11 minutes and 30 seconds. Solid main event. About a 3 to 3 1/4 star fight. Solid for what it was worth. Yeah, there was a little bit of an overbooked finish. It actually ran a little overtime too, by at least 2 or 3 minutes. They did not end on time. It ran a little over, but that's all right. No harm, no foul on that.
Not at all.
Because it was a good solid ending to it. But we do get the ultimate payoff. Blood and Guts is happening, as it will be Jericho Appreciation Society. And at least right now, you got Jon Moxley and you got Eddie Kingston. We don't know the
It's going to be on. They announced it's going to be on June. It's going to be held on that Blood and Guts is going to be on the June 29th edition of Dynamite in 4 weeks from the Little Caesars Arena in Detroit, Michigan.
Detroit, Michigan. Yeah. So, if you guys are wondering what Blood and Guts is, well, it's the traditional War Games cage, the War Games cage.
Ooh, yeah.
2 rings, a steel cage with a top on top of it, being lowered, and it's the traditional rules in War Games. Basically, there's a 5-minute period for period number 1. All subsequent periods are 2 minutes apiece. A head referee flips a coin. The winner of that coin toss sends their second man in. That makes it 2-on-1, and they alternate until all 8 are in the cage. At that point, it goes into what they call the match beyond, and the only way to win the match is by submission or surrender. No pinfalls. In Blood and Guts, it has to end via submission or surrender. Head referee has final say on Blood and Guts. So, with that said, Anthony, I believe you lead off on the main event, so it's yours.
I think you already gave your rating for it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna give this 3.25 to 3.5. I would say this was the second best fight of the night. Intensely physical main event and damn good representation of what Jon Moxley can do against a talented mat technician like Daniel Garcia. We already know he can brawl, bleed, battle, and strike with the best of them. But hidden underneath all of that is a talented grappler who does not get nearly enough opportunities to showcase that element of his performance. He did here, hanging with one of the best young wrestlers on the roster while doing so. The impending Blood and Guts match should be fun, acceptable violence, but the feud really does feel well past its sell by date, with the idea that Jericho Appreciation Society can realistically win being somewhat laughable. And I think that the Kingston and Moxley team will get the win back when that match goes down in 4 weeks. So Detroit, Rock City, get ready. You're getting Blood and Guts in 4 weeks. Little Caesars Arena. So, wow. I mean, and on top of that, MF, it was also announced that on July 15th, on a future Dynamite, Road Rager, Chris Jericho and Ortiz are going to have a hair versus hair match. So throw that on top of it, and that's all there is to say there. So 3.25, excuse me, 3.25, 3.5 for me. So overall review here, yeah, this was a great show tonight. I got to give this in excess of 8, maybe 8.5. I mean, the only really bad thing was Wardlow's delicious squash of JD Drake. But other than that, all the other matches were very good. The MJF segment, I mean, you could consider that one of the greatest segments, if not the greatest segment in AEW history. I mean, ranks right up there with him and Punk's verbal battle from Thanksgiving night that we'll all never forget. And, well, night before Thanksgiving, rather. And then, of course, the surprise appearance of Haroshi Tanahashi to basically challenge CM Punk for Forbidden Door in Chicago. Oh, my goodness. MF, you and I know there's a reason why they call the United Center the Madhouse on Madison. You put your favorite son, CM Punk, in there against one of the greatest, if not the greatest, in New Japan history of all time, in Tanahashi. It's gonna be it's gonna be an even bigger madhouse on Madison than it already was. Oh my word! I mean, but and then next week on Dynamite, Hangman Adam Page in his first match since losing the title. Speaking of Forbidden Door, MF, he's going up against one half of FinJuice, David Finlay.
Yep.
There you go. So, and trust me, MF knows more about FinJuice than I do, but I saw Finn Juice, because I cover Impact Wrestling, as you know, and he and Finn Juice are former Impact Tag Team Champions, but they obviously went back to Japan. But hey, David Finlay on Dynamite next week against the Hangman, that's got show stealer potential. Absolutely does. So 8.5 MF. Your thoughts, and then we'll get into a very happy Ranger roundup tonight.
Yeah, 8 is my rating as well. So there's really nothing more to say. Here we go, guys. So the Eastern Conference Final. The New York Rangers versus the Tampa Bay Lightning from Madison Square Garden in New York. And it was exclusively, all games will be on ESPN and streaming live on ESPN Plus. So, well, we started the East Final, and it was a great start for the New York Rangers as they take a 1-0 lead 1 minute and 11 seconds into the game. That's right, you heard me right. A minute 11 into the game, Chris Kreider scores the first goal of the game, assisted by Mika Zibanejad and Frank Vetrano. That was the first goal of the game. Then at 7:18 in the first period, Steven Stamkos getting the goal. Rata and Sorelli getting the assist, tying the game at 1. And then the New York Rangers jump back out on top. Frank Vetrano getting the goal, his 4th of the postseason, assisted by Adam Fox at 7 minutes and 50 seconds. But it wasn't meant to be as Andre Palat gets the goal. Sorelli and Stamkos with the assist at 8:32. That tied the game at 2. But then at 10:09, the Rangers takes the lead and does not give the lead back for the rest of the night, as it was Filipino, the kid line strikes. Filipino's his 6th goal of the postseason. Capo Caco and Alexi Lafreniere with the assist. And then about almost 5 minutes later, Filipino with his 2nd goal of the game, assisted by Miller and Alexi Lafreniere, 4-2, go into the 3rd. And then the Rangers pour it on with 2 more goals. The first goal 30 seconds into the 3rd period. Anthony Panarin, the 5th of his postseason, assisted by Andrew Kopp and Jacob Trouba. And then in 6:06 in the 3rd period, Mika Zibanejad, assisted by Anthony Panarin and Adam Fox. Oh, by the way, a power play goal as well. And that was the game, guys. The Rangers wins it by the final score of 6-2. The 3 stars of the game: number 3 star Mika Zibanejad, number 2 star Frank Vetrano. The number 1 star was Filipino with the 2 goals in the game. The Rangers were outshot 39 to 34. However, Anthony, in one of the biggest stat lines of this game, normally the Rangers, who's been basically getting out-muscled, out-manned on the face-off circle, they won 60% of the face-offs this time around. The Rangers winning the face-off battles more than anything else. And oh my goodness, what a night it was for them. They had no problems with the layoff. They actually played, without a doubt, their best game of the postseason. Anthony, it is yours. Give us the stars of the game. The New York Rangers, for the first time in this postseason, they now have a series lead. They take game 1. They held serve in Madison Square Garden. And, on to game 2 on Friday night.
Yes, sir. Seven in a row now in Madison Square Garden. The Rangers are now 7-1 at home in these Stanley Cup playoffs, and 7 in a row after that gut-wrenching loss to Pittsburgh in the first game. But they've come on like gangbusters ever since. You talk about the face-offs, MF. Yes, Mika Zibanejad won 10 alone. And Barclay Goodrow, the former Lightning, he had 8 face-off wins. Ryan Strome won 6, and Philip Hedl won 5. So, let's get into my stars of the game here. Of course, for the winners, of course, Philip Hedl, 2 goals. He, like I said, won 5 faceoffs. He also had a block and a takeaway. Zibanejad, goal and an assist, 10 faceoff wins on the night. And, I mean, there were a lot of stars tonight. Artemi Panarin, goal and an assist, had 4 takeaways on the night. Frankie Vetrano, man, a goal and an assist, also had 5 hits on the night. Big night for him. Barclay Goodrow, couple hits and a couple blocks against his former team. Ryan Reeves, 5 hits. Kakko with an assist, had a block as well. Mott with a couple hits and a block. And Hedl with those couple of goals there. I mean, that was I'm glad. It was so great to see the kid line with production. Lafreniere with 2 assists, had 2 hits and a block as well. And on top of that, Jacob Trouba, 3 blocks, 2 hits, had an assist. Adam Fox, 2 assists, 2 takeaways and a block. Ryan Lindgren with 3 hits on the night. And of course, last but certainly not least, Igor Shesterkin, 37 saves, 39 shots for the New York Rangers in an all-around, another incredible performance here. These last 3 games, I mean, starting with Game 6 against Carolina last Saturday night in the Garden, and then going into PNC Arena in Raleigh on Monday night and beating the Canes as soundly as they did in that game, and then what they did to the back-to-back Stanley Cup champs tonight, I mean, just unreal. And I mean, this is definitely getting exciting here to think about. Of course, not a good night for Andrei Vasilevsky. Gave up 6 goals, 28 saves, 34 shots. But the Lightning did have some stars of their own. To me, I think Stamkos was the star of the game for the Lightning. He had a goal and an assist, and he also had 6 hits on the night. 6 hits. That's great. Anthony Cirelli was my number 2 star for Tampa. 3 blocks, 2 takeaways, 2 hits, 2 assists. Great night for Anthony Cirelli. Andre Palat was my number 3 star for Tampa. Had a goal. He had 3 hits, and he had a takeaway on the night. Killorn had a couple hits, a block and a takeaway, as did Nick Paul. Colton had a couple hits. Hagel had a couple hits. And Mikhail Sergachev, 3 blocks and 2 hits. Our old friend Ryan McDonough, 2 hits and 2 blocks. Victor Hedman with a couple blocks. And that's really all I can say about the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I think it's very clear that the long layoff might have hurt them. I mean, they had a 9-day layoff after that complete and utter domination they had of the President's Trophy winning Florida Panthers. Made them look like a done enhancement team, for goodness sakes. And they skated circles around them, brought the bully hockey to them like they always did. But MF, I think on this night we brought the bully hockey. I think we beat them at their own game tonight, because you know what plagued us 7 years ago in this series.
Yeah, we were just getting outmanned. And the thing was, going into it, they had 1 less defenseman. They had actually 7 defensemen and 11 forwards going into the game. And yeah, you're absolutely right. More than anything else, that was actually kind of a remarkable thing. New York, very, very, very aggressive than anything else.
Yes, sir. And we brought the bully hockey to them tonight. So I wonder how they felt about getting the bully hockey on their end for a change. So all I can say, MF, is I'll be honest. Going into this series, of course I have doubts. I mean, look who we're going up against.
Obviously, yeah, no doubts.
Because it is the Tampa Bay Lightning, and like I said, like I've always said, until somebody beats them, I mean, you really can't go against them. But now, I may have to rethink that after what I saw tonight. I mean, a lot of the experts obviously are writing us off, and I even saw one preview say that Tampa Bay was going to win this series in 5. Might want to rethink that, there, Bubba. Might want to rethink that.
Yeah.
After what we saw tonight. I mean, this Ranger team is this might be the most exciting team that we've had. I mean, we started the Ranger Roundup back in 2014. Well, we started it very late. We didn't start it until Game 5 of that conference final against Montreal, and then we ran with it after that, and then we started doing it in full in 15, and whenever we got to do it. So let me tell you, man. I mean, there's still work to be done. I mean, it's only one. I mean, we still got to get 3 more. We get 3 more, we're going to be dancing up and down the aisles like we did in 2014. So, I mean, I honestly cannot believe how well this team has played. I mean, I knew they were going to win Game 6 against Carolina last Saturday. I had a good feeling about that. I did not give them a chance in Game 7 on Monday against Carolina. Look what they did. They proved me wrong. They proved us wrong. And I don't like to be wrong often. I don't. But this was one of those rare times I was more than happy to be wrong. And they went into Carolina. They took that crowd early and they ran them out of their own arena. And tonight they damn near ran the Lightning out of the Garden tonight. And oh my goodness, MF. I mean, right as of right now, I am encouraged. I'm encouraged. I'm excited. I'm becoming a full believer. And Bullock and I, we've talked about it. We talked about it with his Celtics, and his Celtics right now are a team of destiny. I mean, they're in the NBA Finals, and could the New York Rangers be on their way to becoming just as much of a team of destiny? I mean, going into these playoffs, nobody had them going this far. I didn't even have them going this far. I thought they could have won the first. I mean, I liked their chances against Pittsburgh. I didn't think they were going to beat Carolina, but somehow, some way they did. I still have some small doubts about this series, but after tonight, I'm a little more encouraged than I was going in. And they're going to give us hell. They are. They're not going to take this lying down. They're going to be coming to play in Game 2. There's no question about that. And well, all we got to do is we just got to keep doing what we've been doing these last 3 games. I mean, the last 3 games, we've outscored the opposition in the last 3 games, 17-6. 17-6 in the last 3 games, going back to Game 6 against Carolina. So, oh my goodness, MF. I mean, still work to do. A lot of work to do, of course, but because as we know, as the old saying goes, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. But I'm very pleased. I'm very encouraged after tonight. 1-0 lead. Game 2 Friday. Back in the Garden. And I'll tell you, MF. I mean, a split is more than adequate for us. But boy, howdy, if we can somehow, some way take a 2-0 lead to Tampa, if they take the 2-0 lead to Tampa, we just might have a shot at this thing. We might have more than a puncher's chance to win this.
Yeah.
So, great win tonight. I'm pleased. You're pleased. And I know you've been busy, and I know you've been battling your illness there, MF. But and we haven't had much. We haven't had these many opportunities to do the Rangers roundup. I've had to carry the load with Bullock, over the last few weeks or so. But I'm glad you're here tonight, and I'm glad that we got to take this in here tonight. And, oh boy, so nothing more to say, man. I mean, 3 more wins. Mm-hmm. 3 more wins, and if we get those 3 more wins, regardless of how it's done, get those 3 more wins, and you and I are going to be dancing up and down the aisles like we did 8 years ago.
Yeah. We finally will get to say those 4 amazing words. We want the cup.
And also hashtag change the ending as well.
Yeah. So no quit at NY. There definitely was no quit tonight, man. They just kept playing. Oh, yeah. And playing like a team that wants the cup, and they dominated. So great performance, big win for New York. Now, can they go up 2-0? A split is fine because hey, we did our job. We got the game. Yep. The one thing you always want to do is at least get the first game. First game, 75% of the time, you end up winning the series. New York got the first game. Very crucial that we needed this.
Yeah, so, we did.
We got it.
Yes,
so the one thing that we always have to remember now is the response. You gotta know Tampa's coming. And we know it's gonna happen. The shoe will drop. But the thing is does New York is not gonna panic because we've been here before. We've been in these situations. Back-to-back 7-game series, Tampa came off a 9-day layoff, and they definitely looked flat-footed tonight. We will openly admit that. Tampa did not look like themselves. Vasilevsky, are you kidding me? Gave up 6. 6. The entire series.
And they say he's the best goalie in the world. They say he's the best in the world. That's the guy on the other side.
Hold up. In the entire series against the Florida Panthers, that was the best offense in the NHL. They only gave up 3 goals.
Domination.
In the entire series. The Rangers alone
doubled
in one game doubled it. They nailed them for 6 last tonight.
That's right.
That's a major factor. And then for Igor Shestankin, another night in the office, only giving up 2 goals. He has not given up more than 2 since the collapse in Pittsburgh. That was, I believe, game 4, where I think he got roughed for 5, something like that.
Yep.
Every other game, he's given up maybe 1 goal here, 2 goals here, but he's never given up more than 2.
Would like to see a shutout, at least 1 shutout from him. That'd be nice.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We all would love to see him get 1 shutout.
And keep playing like he is a finalist for not just the Vezina, but he's also a finalist for the Hart Memorial Trophy as well. Think about that.
Oh, yeah. So, there you go, guys. Game 1 in the books. And for the first time in this postseason,
we won game 1.
We're already now. We got the first victory. So
3 to go.
Friday night, we're looking for 2 in a row. We're looking for the sweep in the Garden that gives us that momentum to go south, going 3.5, 4 hours south to play in Tampa. We'll wait and see. Game 2 Friday night. On ESPN. All games are on ESPN. Just
game
to let you know.
Game 3 is actually on ABC because it's a Sunday afternoon game.
Oh. Game 3 will be Sunday afternoon. All right. So with that said, we're out of here.
Yep.
So tomorrow night is the return of TXN Sports World, as we will preview the Eastern Conference Final, the Western Conference Final, and in the main event, the NBA Finals.
And the Lakers have a new, and we're going to start the show with the Lakers. The Lakers have a new head coach.
Yes, we do.
So that definitely needs to be addressed. And then, yes, MF, you're right. We'll preview the Western Conference Finals of the NHL, the Edmonton Oilers and the Colorado Avalanche. Oh, my goodness. That was a video game last night. Whoa. 8-6, Colorado. Oh, my goodness. That is going to be a fun-ass series, let me tell you, regardless of who wins. And then we'll preview the Eastern Conference Finals, the Tampa Bay Lightning and the New York Rangers, and yes, MF. There will be the NBA Finals, our preview of the finals, the Boston Celtics and the Golden State Warriors. And then, time permitting, we could have bonus commentary. And yes, there will be a Game 1 edition of the Celtics chat. And let me tell you, Michael Bullock, I mean, you think we're encouraged? Can you imagine how encouraged Bullock must be right now?
Oh, yeah.
Waiting 12 years for this moment.
Yeah, here we go. Game 1 tomorrow night. So, yep. All right. So, thank you, Anthony Florio. I'm going to get on out of here. I'm going to rest my throat. So, guys, have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow for TXN Sports World.
And you'll be back Friday, right?
And I will be back on Friday, yes.
Cerebral Smack Talk back at the normal time. And
yep.
And we got SmackDown, we got Rampage back at the normal time. And then, of course, that's another loaded show because we also got to get into In Your House and Hell in a Cell and main event with the Ranger Roundup, which hopefully will be a 2-0 lead for us.
So we'll see. So until then, we'll see you guys tomorrow night.